Look, Senator Sinema is an excellent Congress member and Senate member, and she has done a lot of good things here, but it's much too early to make a decision.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer refusing to take sides in an Arizona Senate race that once again in 2024 could decide which party controls the chamber. Schumer's not alone. Many Senate Democrats are laying low. But for how long? Arizona Democrats aren't waiting around to run for Congressman Ruben Gallego's apparently soon-to-be vacant seat. Joining us with a closer look at the fallout from Gallego's decision to run for the Senate are our political insiders, Democrat Tony Cani, former campaign manager for Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego, and a top official with Joe Biden's Arizona campaign. And Republican Marcus DelArtino, formerly with Team McCain, now a consultant at First Strategic Public Affairs. Welcome back to Square Off. Good to see you both. I have to say, it still feels a little tenuous talking about this Senate race that's going to happen in 2 years. In 2 years. Yeah. With maybe Ruben Gallego versus maybe Kyrsten Sinema versus who knows who on the Republican side. Am I right to feel that way?
No, that's the majority of my friends who are not in politics, who are normal human beings, are just sort of fed up with this nonstop election cycle. And especially when they feel like you have to explain to them, well, we just had a Senate race. Like, why are we doing this again? So it's getting to be a nonstop political cycle for everything.
It's not getting to. It is.
Oh, yeah, totally.
The election cycle never ends. You do the math. Mark Kelly, in his 2022 campaign, just ended, raised $90 million on his own. Ruben Gallego would have to raise $1 million a week into November 2024 to match that.
Well, he raised $1 million in the first 24 hours, so maybe it's going to happen. Who knows?
Maybe the first 24 hours, aren't they your best 24 hours?
Sure. That's definitely your best 24 hours.
Let's go back to Chuck Schumer and President Joe Biden. Now that Ruben Gallego has launched his campaign, how long can they wait to pick a Senate candidate?
I'll tell you one thing, that Biden really likes Ruben. On the campaign, there were times where, because Ruben would travel to do some spin room stuff for then Vice President Biden when he was running for president. And so, we would hear from the national campaign, hey, you need to be including Ruben, you need to be including him and stuff. And so, like, I wonder in the White House whether or not there's some, pull towards Ruben, but they're going to stay out of it for a while. And because it's so early. But I'm really interested in that dynamic.
That's an interesting insight. How long is a while? How long can Schumer and Biden stay out of this? Because Schumer at least has got to push a button to send money to some candidate at some point.
We're roughly 2 years out, so he's got a lot of time. And keep in mind, Kyrsten's in the Senate, so he's got to work with her and see her on a daily basis. When he gets into an elevator, he's going to be looking her square in the eye. I think he's going to hold out as long as possible and try and get some policy through the Senate.
Okay, I do want to tell our dear viewers, we're not going to be talking about this race every week in the next 2 years. Trust me on that. So you're going to hear a lot today, but don't worry, this is not what the next 2 years look like. We do have jockeying now for Ruben Gallego's 3rd district seat. It's a Democratic, safe Democratic seat stretching from South Phoenix, kind of west into the West Valley and parts of the Northwest Valley. Tony Cani, you tweeted last week about the alacrity of one potential candidate. Tell us about her.
Yeah, I mean, Laura Pastor is already announced that she is looking at this seat, but during redistricting, it's a lot of work. A lot of Democrats came together to sort of put together some potential maps that they can use. And Laura Pastor went out on her own and worked to make this district more Democratic, which hurt Democrats at large. And so I wasn't surprised that she announced that she was running. But I do think that for a lot of Democrats, when that starts to come out, that's going to be a disqualifying factor for
You think so? And we should let folks know, Laura Pastor, the daughter of the late Ed Pastor, who held this seat, parts of it, for, 25 years?
Yeah.
And
he was a great congressman, yeah.
And has a highway named after him in the district now. The Loop 202 extension. Laura Pastor, member of the City Council, Phoenix City Council, for many years. And Jeremy Duda reported on what she was doing during redistricting in real time. It was obvious, going back a year or more, that she was trying to to help smoothen out that district. You get a kick out of this.
I think it's a little inside baseball. I don't think that'll probably have an overreaching effect on the race. There's going to be plenty of candidates. What is sort of, and this is a bipartisan laugh, but I love it when candidates say, I'm thinking about running. You're running. You told me last week you're running. Like, why are we doing this? I think there's going to be plenty of people that jump in. I know Steve Gallardo said last week, I am not running. But I think, you know, a couple months from now, the atmosphere is different. I think he might run. There's certainly a couple legislators looking at it. Not the only city council, Laura Pastor is not the only city council person that I think is going to run.
Who else?
Yasmin Ansari has been mentioned as a potential candidate, and I know that she has, you know, made some phone calls to look into this. I don't know whether or not she is going to end up running, but this is, you know, what's happening is this is a district that's open now, and it's not going to be open for a long time. So if you had a plan, like maybe in 5 years, 10 years, I'm going to run, you have to accelerate it because this is that opportunity. And so a lot of people are looking at this and going to have to make some tough choices. I think there's a lot of good candidates.
This is the dream district for Democrats, right? Safest seat as they come and low voter turnout. You can almost buy a beer for every voter who's going to show up at those polls. So, you know, knocking on doors is probably your best avenue for a win and easily achievable in this district.
Yeah, Ruben Gallego has held it for 5 terms and could hold it into infinity if he chose to.
Yeah.
Our next topic, Kari Lake, raising a lot of money for somebody who just lost a campaign for governor. Jim Small of the Arizona Mirror reports Lake raised $2.5 million after Election Day, usually a time when most candidates just kind of settle the bills and pack it up. She's still raising money, some of it for lawyers, some of it for parties, a lot of it for travel. What's going on there?
I think that they're trying to figure out what we're doing moving forward. And while they were going, you know, while she's figuring out her next career path, this one's obviously paying off. You know, you send out a couple tweets. She's a national candidate at this point, as you know, so it's not limited to just Arizona voters. And so, you know, you have 3% of the world, or the nation's population, send her $10 at a time. It adds up real quick.
And she claims she is the real governor. She's set up a Save Arizona fund to continue this fundraising. She's actually holding a rally tonight, Sunday night, in Scottsdale for raising money.
You know, you said the first day when you're running for office is when you make the most money, but apparently for Republicans these days, it's the first day after you lose an election. But this is why the audit kept happening. There is an economy built around this election denial that is very, very powerful, and they're out there raising money. She's promised, you know, she's campaigning for somebody to be the new chair of the RNC nationally, and one of the things that she is selling is her ability to go into fundraisers at other state parties. So she's going to travel to other states, spread election denial stuff. Like, this is terrible for Republicans. Like, that's going to be traveling all over. It's, you know, like I like to say, you know, bad for democracy, good for Democrats. It's just, it's very, very frustrating.
She appears to need a job. Can she turn all this money into an actual paycheck?
I think that there's a way to do it. Yeah, certainly. I think when you look at the state, and listen, I'm not a huge fan of this, but there's an economy built, to Tony's point, around political consulting. What's interesting is you don't have to have a whole lot of experience in actually conducting races and actually managing them. I don't think anybody looks at a resume anymore. You have to do fancy graphics on your Apple, you know, computer, and you have to know how to send out an email asking for money, and pretty much that's your business plan.
Get off my lawn over here.
We're in the wrong line of work. Okay, got to end it there. When we come back, the winner of the governor's race, Democrat Katie Hobbs, and the Republican legislature are on a collision course over the fiscal cliff. Stay with us.